Kareem, look, it's a precarious moment, and we've got these new images of protests coming in. Obviously, there had been the mass protests around the country, which were met with such deadly force and so many killed by the regime. And then a period of relative calm. Now we're seeing images like this at El Zahra University, an all-women's university in Tehran. You know, what is the significance of this? And would you say, Kareem, the regime in Tehran is weaker or stronger today than it was after that deadly crackdown of protests weeks ago?
The significance of today's protests, Aaron, is that that university, Al Zahra University, is a conservative female university which historically had been a religious stronghold for the regime. So it's just illustrative of how deeply unpopular this government is. And I think it's a government which feels existential angst both internally and externally. It's despised by, I would argue, more than 3/4 of its population. And as you alluded to, it's facing a massive show of U.S. Military force in the Middle East. And it's facing a U.S. president who in the past has rolled the dice on several occasions and feels like he's been vindicated. And in my view, potentially prepared to take action again.
So, General Marks, you know, when President Trump made that comment about General Keane, he used the words war. General Keane, like all of us, would like not to see war. And he put a capital W on the word war, right? He's not talking about strikes or anything like that. He used the word war. Now, obviously, Congress has not approved a war. Is it inevitable, though, General, that Trump strikes Iran no matter what?
I think so, Aaron. Clearly what you see has been described. We haven't had this type of troop buildup in over 2 decades. And generally when you have a force like that, it becomes a negotiating tool. Clearly there are still talks going on in Geneva. They will resume again on Thursday. So the options are crystal clear. You've got that type of force, but when you deploy a force like that, you're incredibly vulnerable. So you have to make sure that all the air defense capabilities that are all linked are in place. We need to make sure that this force clearly understands the capabilities that Iran still has, which is in excess of 2,000 long-range missiles. None of those are nuclear tipped. Take that off the table. But still they have a capacity to do some tremendous damage against this potential strike force. So I think the short answer is, sure, this could be, and in fact, there could be a very limited strike right now. I have no clue what the target packages look like. But there could be a limited strike in advance of the resumption of those talks on Thursday.
Right.
So you go to the table on
to
Thursday.
Make the point. Yeah.
What just happened? More could be coming your way.
The United States has launched one of its biggest deployments in the Middle East in decades, and that's amid these tensions with Iran over its nuclear program. Now, this includes a naval armada of some 16 ships, including 2 aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea and the Gerald R. Ford, which is in the Mediterranean heading east. Now, that combined has a lot of attack aircraft, including F-35s and FA-18s. Meanwhile, there's dozens of American aircraft that are stationed in the desert kingdom of Jordan. That could be a location from which the Americans could launch an attack on Iran. That's in part because Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, where America also operates aircraft from, have said they won't allow their airspace to be used in any potential attack against Iran. All this is coming as U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to militarily strike the Islamic Republic if it doesn't reach a new nuclear deal with America. Now, the Americans and the Iranians are due to meet in Geneva on Thursday, and this might be the last best chance for a diplomatic solution to this. But we've heard from both the Iranians and the Americans. From the American side, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says that zero enrichment remains on the table. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that Iran must be able to enrich some level of uranium. So it does seem like there's pretty big gaps still. So these talks in Geneva might be key in determining whether or not all this military force assembled in the Middle East is used against Iran.
China's an abuser, but the European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars.
I think there is no limited strikes. An act of aggression would be regarded as an act of aggression, period. And any state would react to an act of aggression as part of its inherent right of self-defense ferociously. So that's what we would do. Regarding the elements of any deal or agreement, whatever you may call it at the end of the day, I think it's quite clear. The main part of such deal would consist of sanctions termination, which must be implemented, must be undertaken by the United States. And on the other side, there would be certain clear measures on the part of Iran to make sure that Iran's nuclear program would never be weaponized. I think these are the main two elements of any deal that can be considered by both sides.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角 ，KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。